What are you going to do, Father?
Probably one solution would be to work out a financial settlement with his son-in-law and sell him the business, and then divide up the proceeds with the heirs.
Well, one of the issues here, as a lot of you in this audience are, is that all of his assets are in this one business. And how is he going to buy out this business? And what will his second wife think about buying out a business from his former spouse? And how are they going to determine the valuation? And in what form is that? Is that going to be payable in installments in the next 50 or 60 years? Or is it going to be paid in 5 years or 10 years? Do you have any money, son-in-law?
No.
Doesn't have any money. So how is he going to buy out a business when he doesn't have any money and the rest of your children want their fair share? How is that going to work?
It's a dilemma, isn't it?
That's the dilemma, yes. And I'm saying that all of us have dilemmas. It may not be that dilemma, but it's another. And this person here has spent 35 years building a good relationship with his supplier, and if something happened to him, the only person competent and qualified from a business point of view is this person. And the question is he competent from a moral point of view?
Well, our president doesn't have morals.
Pardon?
I said the president doesn't have morals, so.
So if the president doesn't have any morals, it's all right for me to be immoral, right? I mean, he's running the country. Can't I run this little business? Well, can he or can't he? Do you think it's reasonable to assume that he could run the business? And I think with the right kind of agreements and the right kind of understanding and the right kind of dialogue, he might be able to. And if he can't run it, and there's no one else in the family that can run it, what do you think the value of that business is going to be as a going concern value? Zippo. So you'd spend 35 years building a business, and what happens to it after that? So those are some of the issues that I think have to be resolved. And we came up with some ideas and thoughts, and we're going to be dealing with those in a moment. But I just wanted to make sure that you got a picture of what Fred and Don and I saw here. Yes, sir.
Son-in-law could buy life insurance from the dad to the amount that would be worth to get out of that to pay off the business at the time of the father's death.
Okay, so the comment is that in this case it's a corporation, and the corporation has some insurance on the father. But the gentleman here is suggesting is that the son-in-law buy an insurance policy on his life, so that at least at his death, that money could be used for the benefit of the other members of the family. And that is one option. But the question is he insurable? And does the son-in-law have the money to buy that insurance?
Does the father have a good enough will? I mean, I don't think his will, I mean, he's not going to be very, very favorable towards his son-in-law.
That's right. And how is he going to deal with coming in and having his daughter come to work for her husband? Are they going to be able to patch this up or not? And if they don't patch it up, will this family business suffer? Yeah, and so what one can do is one can be very judgmental about that relationship. And I don't think it serves any real worthwhile purpose to be judgmental. And this person really does an excellent job of running the business. And the relationship issues between the two of them may have nothing to do with his capacity to run the business or to run the country. Whatever the case is.
Carl,
Yes.
do I really care for my father and the farm and the business, or am I just totally insecure? Because that could affect it too, because if I really cared about the farm and my dad, and I have a level of intelligence that says he's running the farm, he can do it, I could just back off if I truly cared. I could just say, Dad, and talk to him and say, look, I know he can do this, and I can't stand to be around him, so I'm going to go find something else to do.
So his daughter is really saying that I'm prepared, to support the business, I'm prepared to leave my livelihood, and her livelihood, at least in part, is a salary she draws from that business. I'm prepared to consider leaving that business, and I recognize that he's the only one that can run this business. Now, that's your choice, but what about your choice? And what about your choice? Are you making those choices intellectually and emotionally and with some credibility, or are you being a victim of what he does or doesn't do, or what the mother does or doesn't do, or what those in-laws over there that look like they're pretty much outlaws by virtue of these family members, or what they do? And I'm saying one way to avoid that is to put together a plan and try to have some dialogue. The same kind of dialogue you're going to have tomorrow, probably. But at least hear another person's point of view. And I would really encourage you, as you look at this scenario, create your own scenarios and at least have a dialogue. Create a dialogue and know that the advisors are really going to support him. Who's going to support the son-in-law? Who's going to support the stepsons? And eventually someone's going to answer that. And is it going to be answered with a whole lot of anger and antagonism, or is it going to be answered in an ability to sit down rationally and judge those and make assessments of our relationships? It's obvious which is the better. But how many of us are doing that? Sometimes in order to see the other side, in fact, is greener, there has to be some pain. And there may be, and there has been some pain in this family just addressing these issues. But is it not better to address those issues while mom and dad are here and able to give their input than wait until they die and then have everybody choose up sides? What's the best way to handle that? Have a pre-plan. And that's what I'm hoping today. And with all the effective advisors you have in this community, that needs to be done. But if you look at the accountant, if you look at the banker, if you look at who's the lawyer, if the lawyer and the accountant is not aware, just as I was not aware for years, of the feelings of these other family members, will that not have an impact on your advice and counsel, Mr. CPA? Or Mr. Banker? And is that going to have an impact on the credit that these people are offered, knowing that in a small community, this is pretty well known fact? What impact is that going to have on your line of credit? Both with the supplier as well as your own banker. And those are the issues that once you actually reach those issues, you can make decisions. But if you wait and don't reach those and don't have the dialogue, how can you make it? And how can the attorney or the accountant or the insurance or the banker really know what's happening underneath it? I guess after all these years, I finally concluded that farmers and bankers could better utilize the services of people like Don Green than they could with a lot of other advisors, to at least open up that can of worm and examine it and see how he can work with the attorney, how he can work with the accountant, how he can work with the banker, how he can work with the insurance person. And I think in a cooperative effort, I think that can work itself out in such a manner that everybody can win. It can be truly a win-win situation. Are there any other questions that anybody has of this group? Yes?
How did the father come to the idea of calling you in the first place?
Well, it's interesting that you should ask that question. And in this particular case, the supplier invited me to come in. He paid half my fee. Why do you suppose the supplier is interested?